All right, welcome everybody to the Odd Stuff Podcast. This is Mike. Today with me, I have Mr. Ceasar Sosa. And today's topic, we're going to get into a little bit of multi-dimensional theories and stuff of that nature. Caesar and I coached together um, football, and we used to have these, we still kind of do have these conversations where we talk about multi-universes and different dimensions and things that happen. But Um, I have Caesar on today, and I'm gonna ask him some questions, and we're gonna kind of go over those conversations that we have and try to see, if they make sense to us or not, and just trying to check out a new theory. It's the Odd Stuff podcast, and we bring all the odd stuff. So this is one of them. Caesar, say hello, my friend.
How's it going, everybody? Glad to be here. Mike, thank you for inviting me. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to the conversations that we'll have ahead. Hopefully, later on, Jamar could join us too. See how that goes.
Yeah,
Get his
definitely,
input.
definitely got to get your Mar on here. So first off, I want to kind of get into the multiple or multi-universe theories and how did you come across that theory? And did you read something? Did you see something? How did you come across that?
It's just one of those things that you kind of read about. And, I guess for me, it was more or less when I'm always like a physics guy kind of dude,
Mhm.
like a math guy. So I always try to reason things with math or science.
Right.
And I just uh, initially it was like I think interest came about like no joke reading comic books
Right.
where they were saying like you know there's different universes, like there's Bizarro Superman and then the actual Superman in the different world. And I was like, oh, that's funny. And then as I got older, I actually read into the multi universe theory that and how it works out and how mathematically it actually is plausible.
Wow. Yeah, and that's kind of fitting right now because we just watched, or I just watched Spider-Man not too long ago, and they opened up another dimension and the multiverse and all that stuff, and it's kind of been a thing from the comic books too. But like you said, it sparked your interest, and then you kind of dove a little deeper into that. What always catches me about that is that is there really other mics? You know, is there other me's? You know, doing something different what I'm doing or doing what I'm doing on the same planet, but in a different timeline or something like that. And when you kind of really stretch your mind to kind of really think about that, it's hard to fathom. You can't. It's like, that doesn't make sense. You only get that from comic books, but
Yeah,
they really did studies on if this could actually happen, and it leads more towards consciousness, right?
yeah. And then that's what kind of what the thing that throws people off, I think, is that they try to conceptualize it in a thing of time, kind of like in
Mhm.
Back to the Future, that the timeline is just one straight line that that's how you travel. But
Right.
with the multi-universe theory, it's like time is, think of the way I explain it and the way I visualize it in my head, so it makes sense to me. Is if I think of it like a big dictionary, like those
Mm.
old school dictionaries that have the hard covers and the pages are like tissue paper, like real thin.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? So if
Hmm.
time is one of the covers, the top cover, and space is the bottom hard cover, right?
Mm.
And all
Right.
the
Yeah.
pages in between are the different aspects of things that could be happening simultaneously. That's
Mhm.
kind of how I look at it. So it's not a different time and it's not a different space. It's happening at the same time. It's just that in the same space, it's just slightly different. So that's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
kind of what happened. So like if using that same visualization, if you will, you open up the cover, right? And on
Hmm.
the top page, if you put a marker on that top page, like a black, those big fat Sharpie markers or whatever,
Right.
and it starts bleeding, on the
Hmm.
page, right? If
Right.
you flip the next page, then there's going to be a dark circle there too. For about 30 pages, there's going to be a slightly lighter circle of that black marker. So
Mm.
you know, um, that's kind of how it works with the consciousness kind of thing. Like
Right.
if an event happens somewhere, then something slightly different affects the next one, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So that's kind of, I don't know if you remember the one time when I told you there was a, if that theory holds true for
Mhm.
everybody, right? Then that
Right.
means that there's multiple Earths out there happening simultaneously. So, uh, like the meteor that passed by, close to Earth, it was
Right.
like a week ago or so.
Yeah.
And so you have to figure that in one of those, universes,
Mhm.
that meteor actually hit Earth.
Right.
So then here we are on ours, and the weather dramatically changed from being really fair and hot to being cold and ugly. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely right. And I remember you telling me about that, about the asteroid theory. If it came by the Earth, one of the times or one of the Earths it hit, and the weather's going to change. Like you specifically told me that before I even thought of that. And then that asteroid came by 5 days later. It was 90 degrees out, and then it started snowing. It's like what? That's crazy. And it was nuts. And you're right.
yeah,
And it kind of went along with what you're saying.
yeah, because if you think about it, the asteroid that hit the Earth that took the asteroid on got destroyed. So
Hmm.
they're going through quite a, what do you call it, catastrophic events there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like further down the line, we didn't feel it as much, but what we did feel is the abrupt change in weather, because it's probably like, somehow connected, interconnected, and stuff like that. Because that's the other thing. If you think about like,
Yeah.
uh,
And it makes sense that you said, because I said that it's is it a different timeline or everything, and you're actually saying it's kind of they're paralleling each other. It's
yeah,
happening at the same time, but it's parallel. It's going on, but
same
it's at the
time, same
same
space.
time.
It's just dramatically, some things are dramatically different and some things aren't. So like
Mhm.
how you were saying, like there's different mics everywhere.
Right.
You know, there's some that, you know Mike didn't wasn't the one that won the race to the egg in the sperm race. It was someone else. So, you know,
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah.
so
Well,
that
this
that's
one
what,
won. So.
yeah. So and then going off that, like how I think we touched on this one time too, that I started reading into one time about how different uh universes you could actually kind of tap into your own consciousness in a different universe sometimes inadvertently.
Yeah.
And uh oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Ari.
Yeah. No. I remember you telling me about the sleep. There was a sleep study that was done, correct?
Yeah, there was a guy, uh I think his name was Richard Monroe. He was a radio guy back in the 50s, and he was trying to what he was actually trying to do was, because he was a legit radio guy, like a dude back
Mhm.
in the day, how they had radio shows and he used to produce these things. And I guess what he was trying to do was he was trying to make like, I guess, books on tape kind of deal.
Mhm.
So
Right.
then people, when they sleep, could listen to him and then learn something while they're sleeping, because he had heard something that people could do that while they're sleeping. And then what he started to realize was that one of the times that he did it, he actually was like almost in a different conscious
Right.
somewhere. Like he had what he described almost like an out of body experience,
Mhm.
and it was because it wasn't him that actually figured it out. It was a Jewish what do you call it, biomedicine guy that figured out that it was actually the vibrations that he was causing with the earphones that was actually triggering the what's called the gateway experience.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Touch on a little bit. I know we talked about dealing with that with the sleep stuff and the dream part, where you we have these dreams where
oh yeah,
they're real, and we live this whole life, or this whole 8 hours doing something where that we're not entirely familiar with, but we that it's us. We're doing it. It's familiar, but it's not familiar. We kind of know those people, then we kind of don't know those people at the same time. And you sleep for a full 8 hours, and you wake up tired. Like what the like
All
that
right.
dream was so real that how am I waking up tired? And I remember you touched on that, like you're explaining that to me, and then what you told me kind of made sense. Like, well, that's crazy. So my consciousness was that Mike's when I was asleep because I was able to kind of just break it down for us, so where we could kind of understand what the thinking is or any studies that were done dealing with that part.
Well, that time what I was explaining was that uh I don't know if you remember I said that our brains can't create people when we're dreaming. So anyone
Right,
that you dream,
right,
you interacted with them in some shape or form. So the brain does not just create figures and personalities and voices like
right.
that. It's not set up that way. So
And then does it also go along with like if you're having a dream about somebody but their face is blurry? It's like you never seen that face, so you
yeah,
can't
you
put
can't
a
create. You can't.
image to
It
it.
won't,
Right. Okay.
your brain won't do it for you. So
Okay.
uh, and then when I was telling you that the thing made more sense to me that when you're sleeping, some people that's what I mean that inadvertently because I want to say it has to do something with REM sleep, hitting
Mm,
your REM sleep, or if sometimes people who are deep snorer,
yeah.
that have the vibrations that hit the right notes or hit the right frequency,
Right.
that they're able to, I guess, their conscious leaves and then it actually pops into the conscious of another Mike in a different universe. And then that's where you wake up at. And that's where you're interacting. It's not really a dream what you're seeing. It's actually you doing something in one of those universes. And then that's why some of those dreams seem so real. Like it's just you're not, not necessarily being a superhero or whatever, but you're like normal living in a dream. It's just with a
Hmm.
bunch of people that you don't know and you're doing things that you don't know. And then when you wake up, you're not you're tired as hell because your mind never rested. You actually never rested. You just went from one universe to the other, and then you just started interacting in that one.
Right. So that kind of when you hear something like that, kind of blows your mind. Like if Jamar was here, he'd be like, "What?" Like he'd be going crazy over that.
Well, because I think it's a common thing. I think a lot of people have had
Yeah,
dreams that are so real, and then when you wake
absolutely.
up, you're like, "Man, who was that? Man, I wish that was happening." And somewhere, it's actually is happening. So it's
Hmm.
like That's what's the funny part about it. So, um, yeah, when I first started reading on this and I saw that, I was like, see that starts aligning things for me in my head because then that actually, I mean, I know it's far fetched and it's a weird idea, but it actually makes sense when you think about it. That's why
Yeah.
or that's why you wake up tired. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
understand the physical part of it. Like people say, like if you have sleep apnea and you're snoring and
Hmm.
that happens and stuff like that. But um, other than that, like I don't see how someone could rest and then you just wake up tired as hell.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I have sleep apnea, and sometimes you toss or turn too much, but when you get those sleeps where you don't move 8 hours straight, and you wake up like, wow, I feel like I hadn't even slept, and I know I did because I had that crazy dream. But yeah, it's also kind of scary to think that too, right? Like if you jump consciousness and like what if you got stuck and that you didn't come back, like you got stuck in that conscious.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been thrown off with because like I've had things happen where like I remember one time my mom's house needed to do like pretty much be renovated
Hmm.
and I one day I just was like thinking about that and then I just got up one day and I was like, you know what, I could do this. And somehow I knew how to do all that shit. Like I knew how to take the floors out, I knew how to do molding, I knew how to do the install windows and stuff like that. And I've never worked in construction in my life, and I knew what I needed and I knew how to do it, and I went and got the stuff and I knocked it all out. And that's one of the things that the gateway experience theory goes into, that, you know, that either I was thinking about it when I went to sleep and I hit the certain frequency in my sleep rhythm that allowed me to, attach onto a consciousness somewhere else that knew how to do this stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I don't know how to do that right now. If you were to ask me to, hey, help me do those floors, you did that shit with your moms, and I was like, I don't remember how to do all that. But the other side of that is that when they did the CIA actually did a study on this thing, man. Like I want to say they did it. The report came out in '83, so they had done the study sometime in the '70s, and their reasoning behind it was because the Army and the CIA was trying to figure out if they could if there was a way to use out-of-body experiences, because that's what they were calling it at the time, to learn about either one, your enemies, or two, learn things while you're sleeping, is what they were initially trying to pull out. So what the study came about was that what ends up happening when you do you hit the frequency, that it's energy that comes out, if you want to, think of it that way, like a thing of energy. Your consciousness is just energy. The universe is just energy. So then what ends up happening is that you end up crossing paths with the energy that you need. And then, so when you wake up, it's there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, that's why I think a lot of people, without even thinking about it, they're just like, I'm just going to sleep on it. And then they go to bed thinking about something, and then they wake up with the problem already in hand. You know what I mean?
Man, I've heard so many stories about that. Like, people having to study for a test, and they just sleep on the book, and then they know it. They know everything of that book, every single answer. They didn't read anything. They just slept on it and woke up and they knew it. Or I even heard one guy, he said that he put his lottery ticket underneath his pillow and won. Slept on it and won.
Because I guess the concept is that your consciousness becomes similar to your other senses. Mm-hmm. So like, how touch, taste, smell, it's just like, you don't actually, nothing actually happens. It's your nerves and sending electrical signals through your body to your brain.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So then I guess the concept is similar, that your consciousness does that when, you hit the frequency and you go up, your consciousness does that. So then that's why you're able to absorb the knowledge and then come back with it when you wake up. So,
man, I wish that was true. I mean, it's happened to people. It's not like it didn't happen to people, but man, I wish I could do that.
There's the whole thing is that you could manipulate it, or at least control it, or make it happen, using certain frequencies. Because I guess what it is like you have to use both sides of the brain at the same time and get them in sync. What's called Hemosync. You gotta get that.
Hemosync, interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So then, once they get into that sync, what ends up happening is like your blood pressure lowers, your heart actually lowers, beating, slower.
Right.
Because the vibration of your heart and circular system could throw off the Hemosync. So then that way you last a little longer in it, and then that's how you're able to do it. So some people, from what I've read, and like people that are real Zen, like like the monks and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
They've learned to do it without help. They're able to Zen themselves into Hemosync and last up to 20 minutes with it.
Oh, okay. So, okay. I watched a documentary years ago when I was younger, and it was talking about monks and, up in the Himalayas, and they only took a wet sheet outside with them. And with them meditating and stuff, they were able to raise their body temperatures to where the sheet was the water on the sheet, instead of it freezing, turned super hot, and they were fine, absolutely fine. And it's, it's the Himalayas. It's cold out there. It's like minus something.
Yeah.
And these guys, these old little monks, are sitting there, and all of a sudden this steam just starts coming off their whole entire body. Like, I was like, what the? But they, I mean, they had it with their mind, with their brain. They understand how to use it, how to trigger it somehow. So there's some secret that, there's tons of ancient secrets out there, but something that they're able to tap into through meditation or unlocking something. And that they always have that saying that you only use a certain percent of our brain.
Yeah, you don't ever use
We-
all of it.
right.
Yeah.
But what would happen if we used all of it?
Probably go crazy. You probably won't be able to
Yeah.
comprehend all that. But yeah, and then what's funny is I was watching that Karate Kid with Jackie Chan. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. With
There's a scene in that movie where they
Will
actually
Smith's kid in it. Yeah.
yeah, they go into with those monks, and
Uh-huh.
Jackie Chan tells him something like, he's focused in his brain and he's focused in his heart, and then that's why he's able. The girl monk or whatever she
Mm-hmm.
is, she's controlling a snake
Mm-hmm.
with her movements, like
Right.
the snake's not controlling it, like
Mm-hmm.
the snake is kind of following her. And then I cracked up when he said that, because that's something to do, like the gateway experiences. That's what they talk about, that the brain gets in sync, left and right gets in sync,
Yeah.
your heart slows down, right? Your
Right.
breathing slows down, your organs slow down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your rhythm stays the same, and then they are able to transcend and control what they're doing. So then that's what I was like,
Right.
man, that's some funny stuff, because you think about like all the movies that you've seen, like even Beverly Hills Ninja. Remember with Chris
Yeah.
Farley?
Yeah.
That the monk was able to come to talk to him when he was calling him and stuff like that. And it's like,
like in Ace Ventura, when nature calls.
yeah. So you think about it, that's what they talked about. That guy, that people who are and like to like completely zen are
Yeah.
able to do that. So and then like the other part is like if I remember correctly, that they're able to do it with vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were to put on specific headphones and hear certain vibrations and stuff. So it's like if you can get the equivalent coming in, I guess. So
The
think of it
hurts,
like
right?
if you were to get
Yeah.
like 100 points coming in this way, a
Mm-hmm.
negative 100 points coming this other way, so it sinks out in the middle, and that's
Yeah.
how they end up
I see a
hearing
lot
it.
of that stuff on people post about the hertz, a certain sound frequency of the hertz that this one helps with anxiety, this one helps you stay focused, and this one helps you sleep.
And see
Um,
that might be all part of it, because it's
yeah.
like you might be able to uh, heal yourself by
Mm-hmm.
reaching a level of Hemosync where it's like you bring in the knowledge and it fucking
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
heals your body or whatever. So
No, yeah, the healing part kind of, it brings to mind a guy named Edgar Casey,
oh
and
yeah,
yeah, I remember Edgar Casey, and
yeah.
he the stories about him that I heard was that he got hit in the head with a baseball when he was younger, and he did the thing where he fell asleep on a book when he was young, and he remember he knew the whole entire book. And he fell asleep on it, so he was that guy that he would do readings. He'd fall asleep, right, and then he would do readings for people and let them know how to heal themselves. And he knew you know, with me, my interest is he knows where all the ancient, like, you know, tablets and stuff are hidden underneath the Sphinx and Atlantis and all that stuff. That's what I get into. But when he starts talking about healing and stuff and certain different things, he did say that he's not getting that information from like an alien or extraterrestrial. He said, I'm doing it, but I'm going somewhere else. I when I fall asleep, I know, I just know nobody's telling me this information. It's him, it's his consciousness. And
Yeah.
I guess he's picking up on other stuff. But yeah, it brings to mind Edgar Casey stories, and if you guys out there, you guys don't know Edgar Casey, do a little bit of research on him. It'll blow your mind. Like
Yeah,
it's
I think there's a whole library of his stuff, right? Because he did like
there's
thousands of readings.
yeah, there's a website. I forget the guy that runs it, but it's a big thing. They have all his archives. They have a lot of his readings. I think they lost some of like really important readings, or they can't reveal some of them, or something like that. But
Well,
yeah,
it
there's
was something too, because it was like a long ass time ago too, right? Like he died
yeah,
like in the 40s or something, right? Like something like
yeah,
that. And he
40s
was
or yeah,
talking about things that weren't happening yet or wasn't that prevalent
right.
yet. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that guy because I remember didn't he like his son didn't he go uh like his son had an accident somehow that messed up his eyes. Like he was messing with the because remember back in the day they had those cameras with the powder
Oh
that they
yeah,
had to
yeah.
light up. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess his son got too close to that powder and it blew up in his face and messed up his eyes. And then
Oh,
the Casey went into his, REM
mm-hmm.
thing or whatever, maybe going into the gateway, and then started telling people how to fix his son's sight because none of the doctors were like, they're like, his eyes are gone, like that's it.
Yeah.
And I think they put acid in his eyes or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
it counteracted the chemicals from the flash, and he got his sight back.
Damn, I didn't hear that story, but damn. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. And he did that a lot for a lot of people. And some of these healings were just simple, like, oh, you need to eat. Oh, for instance, one is like, you have to eat 3 almonds a day. If you eat 3 almonds a day, it'll keep cancer away or something like that. He said, but you got to eat 3 almonds. Just 3 almonds a day is all you need. And I was like, dang, man, like some of these things where he came up with the answers for doctors and stuff that had a pill were just like why would you put acid in your eyes? You're going to burn your eyes out. But,
Yeah, that's what I
you know,
remember too. There was another one that was something because he did things specific for people, right? Like there was a lady
he
that
do, he do a reading
lost her
for that
taste
person.
or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and then they said that she had something wrong with like the third and fourth vertebra or something like that. So they asked her to like basically do a chiropractic move on her, and when they
Mm-hmm.
did that, she got her taste back. So it was yeah, I remember a bunch of it is interesting, man. So if you guys have it, what was his first name again? I just remember
Edgar
education.
Casey.
Edgar
Yeah,
Casey.
Edgar
Yeah.
Casey. That's what I was like, because I was thinking about it when we first started talking about it. I was like, oh man, what was his name? So I was like, I was scrolling through trying to find it, and I put the phone down, and I told myself, I was like, as soon as I put the phone down, I'm gonna know it. And right when I put the phone down, I was like, oh, Edgar Casey.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
Yeah, that actually would explain a lot. Like if he was able to do the whole gateway experience thing, then that would explain how he was actually getting all this knowledge and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
crazy, man.
man.
I didn't even think
Yeah,
about that until just now.
yeah. I mean, unless I mean, we can get to this into another show because you're going to be a reoccurring guest on here. We're going to call it Caesar's Corner.
Caesar's Corner.
Yeah, but when we start getting to, is this already programmed into our mind? Is this already programmed? You know what I mean? So
I get you would have to
you
think
know
it
what I mean?
is somewhat, right? Because it's like some people
Or
do it inadvertently, and I mean, I would like to think that
yeah,
some of those dreams and stuff is me, you know.
yeah,
So I wish I could zen out and know how to do so
right,
that'd be
yeah,
something, right? But
yeah. I mean, it's something we can work on. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done. It's not like people haven't healed themselves or healed somebody else. I mean, I think even Edgar Casey healed himself, right?
yeah, I think
He had to
he
do
had
a
like
reading for himself.
what do you have like arthritis or something, right? He had
Some
something.
something weird but he had to heal himself, and it was a simple thing. But he had to have his assistant record it for him because I mean he was sleeping
Yeah,
or he doing whatever. But
and
but yeah,
like you said, it was something like sometimes it would be like eat 3 almonds, and he would explain why. He wouldn't just say eat 3 almonds and then that's it. He would actually
right.
explain why what in the almonds was doing what in your body and all it. Like he broke it down, and
Mhm.
he had no training, right? He had like no medical training whatsoever,
None. He had none. He had none that I know of. I mean, I even think some of the experts on him are like, this guy was just a guy. You know, he had this experience, and then all of a sudden he was able to do this for people. And you know, people